What's up? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of All We Do Is Talk. I'm here with Isaiah Harris and Nathaniel Moody. How we doing?
Coming off yet another W. It's just common practice these days, 4 in a row. Y'all coming off W's? How y'all feeling?
Let's start going over these games and get through this.
I agree. I agree. We'll start off with the Thursday night football game. Rams took the W against the Seattle Seahawks, 26-17.
The Rams continue to own Russell Wilson. I think that's the pretty common narrative. They're just a better football team. The big story is Russell Wilson's health.
That's what I was going to bring up. So Matthew Stafford had a minor hand injury, and then all of a sudden Russell Wilson had a major head injury. And
probably about 2 months, they're going to go without Russell Wilson. They said 6 to 8 weeks.
I'll give him a month and a half.
They'll probably try to rush him back, but
their season's probably over.
That's the point. Their season's probably over.
Giving up a first-round draft pick this
to the Jets, so they can't tank. So they're going to do everything they can to try to win. They're 2-3 right now, coming off a rough loss. I can't imagine them winning
division win.
I can't imagine them winning too many games without Russell Wilson. He's the sun, the moon, and the stars for them.
Oh, I got some nice receivers. Geno Smith looked good when he came in.
Yeah, I mean that's before. That's a one-time thing. I don't expect to see Geno Smith be that good again. So.
Tough. The best system he'll ever.
Tough for Seattle.
Best situation Geno will ever be in.
Yeah, it's the best situation Geno will ever be in. He's not with the Jets anymore.
He's been there for a couple years, so he knows the system.
He knows the system. So, well, actually, they're under a new system.
They've gone through like 3 new systems in 3 years.
But for the Rams, they just handled business on a tough road division game after coming off that rough loss to Arizona. So they did a good job bouncing back. They kind of were stumbling through the first half, but they picked it up. And when their offense gets rolling, it's going to be touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. That's how they separated in the game. Obviously, knocking out Russell Wilson helped them a lot. Geno Smith gave him a puncher's chance to get back in the game, but of course it's Geno Smith, so the inevitable turnover came down the stretch to get the Rams up out of there.
Lockett slipped.
Yeah, Lockett slipped. I don't think this really says anything more about the Rams. They beat a team that they're better than that was missing their quarterback. So I don't really take too much away from the Rams in this game.
They needed the win. They got the win.
Yeah.
Ugly Thursday night football. Big second half from Matthew Stafford to make up for the subpar first half. Really sloppy game. But anything else to say about this, Eric?
No, I mean, I think the Rams are Super Bowl contenders when they can run for over 100 yards. Like, they ran for 115. Like, if they can run that much.
Oh, that's cool.
If they're running that much, I mean, I think they can get it done. And make a deep playoff run.
Let's move on to painful Sunday.
Yeah, let's start with the game in London. Your 9:30 telecast. Atlanta takes the W 27-20.
The Jets tried so hard to backdoor cover. They did everything they could. But yeah, I guess when I picked the Jets to cover, I thought coming off a win, some momentum against a beat down Falcons team having to go all the way to London, that the Jets would the Jets would show a little bit of improvement. Way off. They took one step forward, looks like about 4 steps back against the worst defense they've probably seen all year. They had no answers on the offensive end. They couldn't move the ball. Zach Wilson turned the ball over. They couldn't protect him, couldn't run the ball. It's just an overall abysmal of performance from their offense in the best matchup they'll probably see all season. That's really, really bad to see. For Atlanta, they good on them for taking care of business against a team that's inferior than them. We railed on Atlanta. We thought they were one of the worst teams in the league.
I said they go on a run. They had the schedule in front of them to go on a run.
But even without Calvin Ridley, even without Russell, they still say we're still
that's what we found out.
Better.
The Jets aren't good.
The Jets are awful.
The Jets can beat you.
They're not just not good. They are really
they're
bad.
They're a bad NFL football team. So if they play above their heads and the other team's playing awfully, like last week, even though Tennessee picked it up in the end, they might, if things break right, beat you in overtime. But in most cases, they're going to show up, and Zach Wilson will be not protected, and he'll be playing erratically, and they won't run the ball, and their defense will be average defense, but the offense is bad, so it's practically a bad defense. So they got down early, fought back. Atlanta almost choked the game away. The Jets did find a way to almost have a chance, but Atlanta puts the put-away touchdown. And anything else to say about this, Eric? Not much to really.
I mean, the Jets can just – they're just bad. Oh, God. Like,
they got to win.
They gotta win.
Detroit don't gotta win. Detroit don't gotta win, and the Detroit Lions are better than the Jets.
I think Detroit's better than New York.
Like they don't got no win to even feel it, but they don't feel it. Detroit, at least the Jets know what it's like to win. Jared Goff we'll get to Jared Goff, but he's still seeking his first win without Sean McVay of his career.
They've gotten heartbroken. They got their head coach crying.
He really never won a game under Jeff Fisher? How could he?
He went 0-8 that year. They were terrible that year.
All right,
Arizona wasn't even great.
Let's move on to those Detroit Lions. The Vikings pull it out 19-17, but the cover gods, good teams win, great teams cover.
I want you to remember that, Eric. I want you to remember that exact statement for later. Just letting you know. I just want you to remember what you said.
This was the worst game of Sunday.
That's how a theme for the Detroit Lions.
They're good enough to keep in games, even on their defense gives up lots of yards, and their offense doesn't move the ball because they have no weaponry whatsoever, and they have Jared Goff at quarterback, so they just run a decent check down system.
And now their entire offensive line's hurt. Oh,
no, Penei Sewell's hurt. That was healthy.
I think he got hurt.
I know
Ragnar's out. Decker's out. It's a disaster.
Sucks that they keep choking away. They could have had 3 wins this year. Theoretically, they had 3 tied games in the fourth quarter, or they were up. They went for 2, got aggressive. It didn't matter. When they went for 2, I thought, man, they're going to still probably lose by a field goal because there was still time left. But I don't know what else to say about Detroit. And then their coach is already crying because he knows how hard
it's the Lions' curse. How many teams? We've seen Baltimore. We've seen the Packers. We've seen teams get up out of here when the Cardinals.
In the worst kicking weekend,
Detroit
still found a way to lose on 2 50-yard field goals in the fourth quarter.
It's what happens to Detroit. Everyone else can. Oh man, it's a field goal for the win. No good. We get up out of here. Detroit, right down the middle. It's just what happens to Detroit.
If you blinked, you didn't miss anything. Oh, terrible fumble by Madison to give Detroit life, and they scored the touchdown, go for 2. Terrible. They just took the ball out of his hands. But Kirk Cousins has been terrible. Him and Baker Mayfield look like they just have to cross each other's paths to go down the same stairways because it's been a struggle since a good start for both of them, which is surprising for Kirk because Justin Jefferson was having an amazing game, and then they just couldn't get the ball to him anymore. And come on, 19-17, Detroit Lions, Minnesota. It sounds like it was. Yeah. Eric, anything else to say about this?
I mean, Madison's doing a great job in replace of Dalvin Cook for a while.
If they lost that game, his fumble would be highlighted as something that would show that.
Luckily, it's Detroit, so your margin for error is gigantic.
All right,
but he's been decent.
Well, let's move on to Houston, where New England just got up and out of there with a 25-22 win over the Texans.
It really doesn't make any sense. What the hell was New England doing down 13 to the Texans?
They were down 20-something. They were down.
I thought the score was like 22-9 is what I saw the biggest deficit was.
I thought it might have been 22-6 or 3.
But either way,
it's the shocker of the night. I mean,
that day we were talking about how we didn't think
15-9 at halftime.
We were talking about how we didn't even think Houston would be able to score, but Davis Mills went for 300 yards and over 10 yards an attempt, which makes me feel really, really good. But
as you don't know, Davis Mills has also thrown more touchdowns this season than Baker Mayfield. But we'll get to Baker later.
But yeah, overall, just good fight for Houston. They took a step forward after a couple of rough weeks against the Panthers and the Bills to go against a team that's known for making rookie quarterbacks' lives a living hell. They had a good game plan. They were able to attack through the air. They made some plays downfield. It was a good fight from Houston, but overall they didn't need to win the game, and they didn't win the game. New England found a way to get it done. Mac Jones put on a hell of a second half performance to engineer the comeback. 3 straight scoring drives to end the game. Touchdown, field goal. Touchdown, field goal. I think that's getting it done for a quarterback. That's how you're going to win a game. Now they were playing an inferior team. They probably shouldn't have been in that position, but they could have lost the game. And
Bill could have lost his job losing to Tom Brady and the Texans back-to-back weeks.
So they could have lost the game. It looks like they went out there and found a way to win. So I think positives for both sides.
Not for you. This as we said with the Jets, as we said with the Lions, the Texans are finding out that they're a bad team. So even on their best days, they still will probably lose, which is just because they pulled out all the tricks, the flea flickers. Davis Mills was throwing it up, and guys were going to make plays and breaking away. J.C. Jackson got torched by some guy named Chris Moore, who came off the practice squad that day. they were doing everything right, and they got the punt block, and then once New England makes a play like that, Bill Belichick had the answer for them. He wasn't going to let them lose that game. Anything else to say about this?
I mean, no, this was just an ugly game. Davis Mills did look really good, I think.
I think he got away with when he threw that ball up to the Moore kid that cooked J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson probably makes that play 9 out of 10 times. That time, some guy decided to make a better play and just pluck it off his head.
It's the NFL. Sometimes you're going to get beat.
And then the safety made a bad angle, and next you know, it's Stephon Diggs to the end zone. Like, wow, he did that. But anything else you were saying about this, Art?
No. But let's just get my pain and misery out of the way. Philly took the W 21-18 over my Carolina Panthers.
Eric, I'm so disappointed. I'm sitting over here in the airport, upset about the living hell that my life was at that time. Just being happy that I can rely on Carolina to take care of Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles like we all predicted. And Sam Darnold went back to looking like Adam Gase Sam Darnold. I think that is the easiest way to put it. Y'all were doing a good job. Then Sam Darnold decided to put the ball in Darius Slay's hands, and y'all gave up the lead. It's hard to overcome 3 interceptions, especially 2 in your own territory. The Eagles were able to capitalize off those plays. Jalen Hurts was able to use his legs to get into the end zone and get a man coverage, and Philly found a way to steal yet another victory.
That's the thing, because this game, even with the interceptions, the third one was the final drive to Carolina trying to answer, but they were surviving the 2 interceptions by Sam Darnold early. It was looking good. I forgot that also this game existed. This was actually the ugliest game of the day because Sam Darnold and Jalen Hurts were terrible. Both. Jalen Hurts just found a way to clutch up off of some bad turnovers in the end. But this game was over after the block punt. I never saw a momentum swing because they had survived the 2 Sam Darnold interceptions and they were still up by a touchdown. And then the block punt happened, and then they got the short field. And it was like, oh, well, easy score. Bad Sam Darnold interception. Game over. Special team. Once they block the punt, that's what special teams single-handedly will cost you games.
And then the Carolina O-line continues to struggle. It's
even as bad as they played.
A couple of them came back in practice today. A couple of them came back in practice today.
Hopefully, Moton. Yeah, you need Moton back because they started moving Moton around.
Oh wow!
I was like, oh, okay, move the guy that's good at one's position. But yeah, block punt sucked. Mm-hmm. After nothing, Carolina was controlling 15-3, 15-6, 15-9. Keep this stiff arm, and they just looked like the better. Carolina's defense was amazing. They probably were the better defense on that game.
Yeah, they did their job. They were doing great.
The bad interception, but then the block punt. Yeah, this game really showed you how one play can cost you a game, and it was sad to watch because Carolina never had momentum again after that block punt. Never, ever again.
Oh, I knew it was over. I knew it was over when that block punt happened. I knew we weren't coming. I knew we weren't winning. But because
they were lucky to be up all game after, even though playing all that good defense. But this game was sorry, Minnesota and Detroit. At least there was some excitement in the end. But this was another runner-up for bad game of the day. There's another one coming up, but this one's a good contender too. Anything else to say about this one?
I mean, yeah, I'm getting impressed with Chuba Hubbard. I mean, he's being serviceable while Christian McCaffrey isn't playing.
He was one of the guys this week that I decided to leave on the bench to play.
I also left Chuba on the bench, but
Cole Beasley instead of Chuba Hubbard, but.
I think the Robbie Anderson connection needs to be established more. Because
I was telling that to Moody earlier today that's weird that Sam Darnold can't connect with him.
He don't trust anything Jets related.
I mean, yeah, but he was the one weapon he had in New York. So
you don't want to think about that.
He don't want to think about that until he's moved on from that. Y'all gotta trade him.
All right, moving on next.
All right, next we've got Tampa Bay hosting Miami, where the Bucks bucked and won 45-17.
This game was close early. It was 10-10. It was 13-10, I think, early in the third or late in the first half. And then Tom Brady went berserk. Touchdown, 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 touchdown. game over. And Jacoby Brissett can't answer that. I don't care how beat up the Bucs defense is.
It's crazy because I forgot Jacoby. They showed the pictures. Jacoby Brissett was on that championship team with the Patriots. It's weird.
But if Tom Brady just goes nuclear like that, Xavier Howard and Byron Jones are supposed to be the best cornerback tandem in the league, and Mike Evans and
they've been cooked up twice this year.
Mike Evans and Antonio Brown made them both look ridiculous on multiple occasions. They weren't the better. Bucs were a much better team, and they flexed their muscles on a bad team.
As disappointing as I think the Giants have been this year, as disappointing as I think the Kansas City Chiefs fans believe they have been this year, the Buffalo Bills have probably been the most. I mean, the Miami Dolphins, that they get owned by the Buffalo Bills, they've probably been the most disappointing team this season. They're sitting at 1-4, and everything looked good when they beat the Patriots in Week 1, but they haven't won since.
Tua went down in the first half of game 2, and
quarterback issues, head coaching, offensive-wise, their offense is terrible.
It's the worst in the league, probably.
There's some bad ones. The Jets are pretty bad.
And I still think they still got more, without Tua and that offensive line and Will Fuller's out hurting. There's no talent on that offense at all.
Luckily for Tom Brady this year, he's facing the easiest schedule because they were a wild card team last year. So they're playing a second place schedule and they're playing the NFC East. So good on for Tom Brady for being the lucky son of a gun he is. And AB and Mike Evans, 2 touchdowns, 100 yards apiece. I benched AB this week, continuing the trend. I was on the same team with Chuba Hubbard. Go Beasley, thank you. But Bucs get another warm-up, tune-up game this week coming up. We'll predict that probably at the end of this. But as for Miami, that's Brian Flores' seat went from cool and it toasted up faster than Matt Nagy and Urban Meyer's did. So that's tough. Eric, anything else to say about this game?
Thank you, Tom Brady, for the MVP performance.
Yes, that's what it was.
Just 2 games to cover up the fact that he struggled his ass off against the Patriots.
It don't matter.
He was in there when they were up by 30 in the fourth quarter.
Who cares? Get those calories. I don't care. They need to be done. But no, Miami is being abysmal. And me and Isaiah kind of projected that at the beginning of the year. Moody was a little bit higher on him.
I mean, I was hoping Tua could last more than 5.5 quarters, but he didn't.
Even with that, I thought they'd win at least 7 to 8 games.
They don't have a bad team, but their offensive line is abysmal, and they can't get the quarterback up.
I think their offensive coaching is that bad.
And that as well.
Let's move on from the pain of Florida. They already get nice weather. They don't need 3 good football teams.
All right, so moving on, we'll go to Pittsburgh, where they handled Denver 27-19.
Ben looked like decent.
He looked decent. The outside weapons. If Chase Claypool looked amazing, Deontay Johnson looked amazing. As long as those guys are creating enough separation.
If he can, but they've been doing that, and Ben still ain't come close to getting the ball sometimes. That's
the questions of Denver's run defense came to fruition because they were getting moved by Pittsburgh's offensive line, which makes you think Denver was the biggest pretender of them all. I think they were. It's a shame that the Giants had to get their ass beat by them, but that's what Week 1 and early this season.
They also had to play some Drew Lock, right?
No, they didn't play Drew Lock.
Did Bridgewater play the whole game?
Yep, and they were down. He gave him a nice little fight back. Cortland Sutton had made a couple big plays, a couple touchdowns, and then he threw the game-ending interception in the
red zone.
I mean, but we don't need it. We needed to win the game.
I mean,
on 4th and goal, I need my quarterback to go help me win the game. But I thought they would win the game with Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock, so I was disappointed to see how well Pittsburgh handled them in the trenches. Now, TJ Watt's back, and as we saw Week 1 against Buffalo, if you're playing Pittsburgh, if they have a good defensive day, it's going to be hard for you because they're probably going to be creating lots of pressure. So they could beat people with their defense on some days. Their offense looked the best it's looked all year. It's probably just Denver falling back to earth, or maybe there's 2 teams going in 2 opposite directions, or maybe just 2 even teams fighting in an ugly, even game.
Yeah, that's probably the closer thing. It looked like 2 average to below average football teams.
Possible playoff teams.
It's like 7. They can sneak into a 7 seed with a 9-8 record if they manage to stay healthy for the rest of the year. But yeah, it's just neither teams were really anything impressive at the quarterback position.
Denver lost KJ Hamler, so they lost a couple weapons.
Denver's struggling with health at the skill position. Obviously, Pittsburgh's offensive line is really, really bad. And Pittsburgh just found a way to win because that's what Pittsburgh can find. Pittsburgh is just better at finding ways to win than Denver is, and they got the job done.
Anything else to say about this game, Eric?
Yeah, I'll take credit as being the only one to pick Pittsburgh on this show. Thank you. I'll
Yep,
take
me
that.
and Amelia have noted that.
I'll take the perfect score on that because I did hit the over on that 39.5.
Wow.
That's
Now we all picked the over. I picked the
Yeah.
under. Yeah, that's crazy. All right, moving on.
All right, moving on. We'll go to Jacksonville, where the Tennessee Titans beat the Jaguars 37-19.
It's Derrick Henry's favorite football team.
You beat me to it.
Whenever Derrick Henry needs to fatten up and get his 2,000-yard rushing campaigns going,
Houston and Jacksonville.
Circle Jacksonville and Houston on the schedule.
That's 4 games. That's 1,000 yards right there.
And once again, Jacksonville was on the schedule, and Derrick Henry ran right through them. Another 35-plus touches, 180-plus yards. They can't stop him. He could single-handedly bulldoze the Jacksonville Jaguars for 4 quarters and win the game by himself. Tennessee got A.J. Brown back as well. They were able.
Passing game looks non-existent. Right
It's
now.
like they don't really have anything as long as the injuries are hurting them like that, and the offensive line is going to struggle to protect even against Jacksonville. But Derrick Henry being so good is going to create enough plays for them that they can beat teams like Jacksonville. And with what's going on in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer, they can't be focused enough to win anything.
There was a pretty they fought, and that's what I'm gonna.
They fought the last.
I'm gonna ding Tennessee, and clearly they're pretenders because that defense is still patchy because Trevor Lawrence made some good plays here and there. They still got the ball right. They got the ball run down their throats, and their offense is they can't protect the quarterback, so they can't. When sooner or later someone's gonna slow down the run enough where, like we saw with Arizona, when they have to protect the quarterback, they won't. And
they got Buffalo on Monday,
so yeah. Good luck to them. They'll get through because luckily they play Houston and Jacksonville.
They're probably the worst division in the NFL. I think clearly.
They got 2 of the worst teams in it. So
3. They're all one.
I think the Colts are better, and they clearly showed that on Monday. But yeah, they got 2 teams that are dubs. Not much else to say. This is Derrick Henry's go-to big game of the year. Eric?
Yeah, I mean, with how bad the offensive line is, it's hard to get a passing game going for Tennessee. I mean, AJ Brown should be doing better. I mean, I know he was hurt, but when he's in, he's been irrelevant, which is
there's no pass protection.
Yeah.
And Ryan Tannehill has been running, so Arthur Smith missing, you could start seeing some cracks into that maybe, because their passing offense has just gone haywire.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move on to Washington, or where they play Maryland. The New Orleans Saints beat them 33-22.
Is Washington? These are 2 of the most inconsistent teams in the NFL. Like it could be up, it could be down. And for this week, the Saints were down last week, so they're up this week. Washington was up last week, so they're down this week. And that's how it went in the game. Washington was up early. They seemed like they were able to. Chase Young had a strip sack in the game. They finally started to be able to get some pressure on the Saints offensive line that's been struggling with some injuries. But their secondary continues to get exposed on the big plays, and that's the biggest problem with Washington football team right now. Guys are just behind them all day long.
It's Landon Collins.
They gave up a Hail Mary at the end of the half. Another explosive touchdown to Callaway. As Isaiah said, Collins is just running behind guys, not close to them as they walk into the end zone. Kamara got more involved in the passing game in this one and got into the end zone a couple times. And that's just what it was. Winston had a solid game, although he had 1 turnover. But the Saints defense is good enough to slow down Taylor Heineke and their offense. Marshawn Lattimore with the best game of the week as he locked up and eliminated Terry McLaurin from the football game. And that's all the Saints needed to get a nice, comfortable NFC road victory.
2 8 to 9 win teams that have inconsistencies out the wazoo. Saints offense looked better, defense looked way better, still hit or miss. Redskins defense got to be the most disappointing unit by far. And Taylor Heineke looks just as good as Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think people forgot about Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, there was no drop off. That was the thing. Like their season was always going to hinge on their defense, and the regression march.
The secondary is god awful. It's go away from William Jackson.
4 straight games giving up 30+ points for the Washington football team.
You can throw on anybody in that secondary. So I don't. Anything else happened in this game? The Hail Mary was uncontested. Taylor Heineke was good, not great. Jameis Winston was good, not great. Saints' offensive line looked better because they didn't look that good last week against the Giants, in my opinion, even though they did run the ball pretty well. But they protected Winston better. But not much else really in this game. This was one of those, that Denver-Pittsburgh, like, two borderline playoff teams. Probably a game that's going to be this game's going to determine who gets tiebreaker later on. So anything else I should say about this one?
No, I mean, personally, I was thinking this was a snoozer a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I was on the last TV that I had. Every time I turned to it, not much was going on, but there was like scoring crazily.
All right, well, I think that's it for the 1 o'clock slate. Was Green Bay, Cincinnati 4 o'clock?
Yep, that was the game of the 1 o'clock slate.
Yeah.
How can you forget about that game?
Oh no, I didn't know if it happened at 4 or 1.
Oh no, it was the 1. It
went to overtime, so it extended into the 4 o'clock window a little bit.
So the underlying theme of this weekend and what I learned is that place kicking is, in fact, I could jump on the bandwagon. It is the most
get out of the game. Get it out of the game.
It belongs in the game, but it doesn't belong in the game, which is so crazy. It's grandfathered in.
If we're gonna have special teams, I vote no penalties. Let those dudes go at it.
But I'm just talking about place kicking in general.
But yeah, we know place kicking is, and then the problem is the extra points used to keep kickers in rhythm to give them confidence. But now that it's further back, they're missing them more often.
They're still easy field goals.
But it's a lower percentage kick. You have to hit it perfectly. If you lose a little bit, you play Madden, you lose a little bit of focus to the extra point, and that's the kickers have to deal with the same thing. You lose a little bit of focus, you're missing, and all of a sudden you're thinking about it on your next kick. And it can snowball as it did in this football game.
Well, before all the kicking madness, we had Aaron Rodgers struggling with Cincinnati's defense, which has been probably the most shocking unit, along with their offensive line, which is infinitely better. Not making it a great offensive line, but way better than it was.
Yeah.
So Cincinnati's been overachieving this year. Jamar Chase, it wouldn't be Green Bay unless they were giving up an explosive touchdown right before half. Jamar Chase is the premier offensive rookie of the year. Him and Rashawn Slater. Two guys who are top 5 players on my draft board, make you feel good. Wish one of them played for my team. But Joe Burrow has been really hit or miss this year. He's thrown some bad picks. Aaron Rodgers has been really hit or miss. You saw the stat that Green Bay has a negative point differential, but they're 4-1.
Well, we know they got blown out by 35,
and then they won a couple.
So like, it's not that bad in my opinion.
They're the only winning team with a negative point differential, but. They've been hit or miss. There have been times they played down to competition this game. They've been knocked up with injuries, so you could always use that excuse. But Aaron's playing. The offensive line looks like it needs Bakhtiari back. Missing Corey Linsley probably and Brian Bulaga. Years of losing guys over the past couple off seasons. But how do you think about this game?
This was a battle of bad Zach Taylor coaching versus bad Mason Crosby kicking. That's all I saw in the fourth quarter. The Cincinnati Bengals had no business losing this football game. None whatsoever.
Green Bay took the first kick with a chance.
Mason Crosby basically, but that was the third kick he missed. Like he missed 2 in that they had 2 chances.
He got the chances to put them away, and he kept missing. So
but his kick should have been for ties. First of all, I think Zach Taylor had awful clock management in the fourth quarter to even keep giving the Packers chances. He took a 57-yard field goal with like 50 seconds left, and just what are you doing? Your kicker hasn't been.
They have a good kicker. No, they have a good kicker.
He didn't play good.
Mason Crosby's a good kicker. Like sometimes
I was talking about, but as you saw, he thought he was good.
Sometimes
he believed.
Sometimes kickers go haywire.
I thought they settled for a long field goal when they should have been attacking more to try to get another first down and to end the game, because as we've seen, giving Aaron Rodgers any extra time means the game's going to continue anyway. They didn't run the ball as well in the fourth quarter. They did, as we saw, Mason Crosby, he was just missing kicks for the Packers. Aaron moved him into field goal range every time.
30, 40 yarders, 45. Like he was missing. He was the GOAT of the game, and then he became the GOAT of the game. So good on to him.
I hate to see Cheeto Awuzie making some big plays for interceptions, but overall, the Rodgers to Adams connection is the best connection in the league right now. No one stops it. And
Devontae Adams makes sure to catch the ball. He don't tip it back up and fix it.
So as long as those two are together, the Packers are going to win 10, 11 plus games, and that's the trajectory they continue to be on.
My only thing is, before I let Eric take over, I'd like to see Joe Burrow use his other weapons a little bit better. I think he's become a little too Jamar Chase-centric. I'd like to see more T. Higgins. He's coming back from injury, and definitely more Tate in the slot. Because
what about Boyd?
I mean Boyd. I say Tate. Tate's good too. Tate's a good forward option, but more Boyd and CJ, the tight end, in the slot, and hopefully Joe Mixon can stay healthy and keep the run game decent. Eric, go ahead. Take it away.
Well, for my fantasy team, I don't want that. Throw every single ball to Jamar Chase. But I've never been so happy for a push on my lock in my life. It was just
I picked Cincinnati. I let it go, but I was the only one to pick Cincinnati, and they should have did it. So I should be pissed. But they settled for long field goals.
Yeah. So
and one their kicker thought he made.
Yeah, that I think that's the one that hurts the most. You're just seeing them celebrate. You're like, oh, no.
Ooh, I was like, that's not good.
Why are you jumping
He's far away.
Down,
He's far away. And it's windy out there. It was a windy. It's hard to kick it in those outside north.
And yet they settled for a 57-yard field goal.
That wasn't even the overtime one. That's the crazy thing. But moving on, this was the game in the 1 o'clock window.
Oh, absolutely. So let's go on to the one that I was the only one to pick again. Correct. Bears beat the Raiders 20-9.
Yeah, as we see now.
Hold up real quick. Pour one out for my lock of the week streak. I was undefeated. But I told y'all last week I didn't want to believe in the Raiders. But before this game, John Gruden was only under fire for one set of bad things. By the end of this game and by where we are today, it's become a full dumpster fire, and this is why you don't believe in the Raiders ever in this generation for sure.
Yeah, the story.
I cursed him. It's okay. I believed in y'all. That was my fault.
The story is John Gruden. He's out obviously for being a racist and a bigot and a homophobe, and no luck to him wherever he goes. But when something like that happens, the team's going to be affected by it, and that's what happens. I don't think the Bears are a better football team than the Raiders, but it's just too much turmoil going on in Vegas for them to be able to focus on football, focus on playing the game. The Bears are playing with more confidence. They came off a division win against the Lions. They're 3-2. Justin Fields, they're finally using Justin Fields in a better way suited to his skill set. He's throwing less. He's running more. They're running really well as a football team, even with the David Montgomery injury. And the defense believes again. I think that's probably been the biggest turnaround for the Bears. Now that Justin Fields is in at quarterback, the defense has seemed to have stepped up to the challenge, knowing that they're going to have to hold opponents to lower points to keep their rookie a chance to win the games. And they've done that so far, only giving up 23 points in the last two. The Bears seem like they're capable of stringing along some wins together, and this is another good one.
I still think the Bears are bad, and I'm still going to pray on their downfall for the rest of the season. I'm just going to spotlight that the Raiders laid an egg here, and also Derek Carr's return back to regular Derek Carr. Yeah, those days of MVP Derek Carr. He showed a nice Russell Wilson flurry to start the season, but need more from him. Their offensive line's taking a step back. Now they're moving Leatherwood around. I don't know why you just should leave him and let him get the growing pains going. You didn't have a better option, so now you've got another guy getting whooped up. So, and now they have head coaching, a new special teams coordinator taking over as interim. So
Versace is one of the better special teams coordinators in the league, and you don't want to mess up everybody else's coordinator positions to move them to head.
So like Joe Judge, but now he's not just knocking it out the park. It's still going to be hard. This is about to become a dumpster fire, which says a lot to Jacksonville to avoiding becoming this first. So
yeah,
first the dumpster fire was the Raiders.
Shout out to Urban Meyer for surviving, not being the first coach up out of here. So whoever had
and Matt Nagy.
So whoever had Gruden in the pool. Congrats to you. Go collect your check because it's unfortunate for Vegas.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised at this Vegas because
this is how
Vegas has been pretty bad since we've been watching football. So anything else to say about this game? This was another bad game, by the way.
Great call, Eric. Great call.
Yeah, I mean Justin Fields had an all right day. Like he wasn't that special, but
he was better than Derek Carr.
Yeah, he was with the Bears, so quarterbacks. Moving on to Arizona, where Arizona stayed undefeated with a 17-10 win over the 49ers.
Trey Lance joins the rookie struggle bus of not being able to win football games. It's hard. The Cardinals have a really, really good defense. They've shown that so far this season. They've slowed down some really strong – outside of Kirk Cousins, they've slowed down basically every offensive attack they played. Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt being able to contain Trey Lance in the run game and in the red zone was the key to their win because the Niners were able to move the ball, but they just couldn't cash it in when it mattered. The Cardinals did a better job of doing so. Kyler Murray not as dazzling, not as high, huge numbers as he's had throughout the year, especially against a Niners defense with nothing in that secondary. But they still managed to make enough plays on the ground, move the ball well enough. They scored enough points, and they won an ugly division football game. Cardinals have been winning really flashy and high profile. For them to win a game like this shows that they can win in multiple ways, and I think that spells to a team that's ready to compete in NFL playoffs. Kyler Murray continues to be your MVP frontrunner.
Well, my two takeaways is I think I'm going to put Arizona into pretender status. I think we've seen that they got out. They shouldn't have won the Minnesota game, as we saw the Minnesota kicker make the field goals that he made, that he missed against Arizona. They struggled against Jacksonville, and the way their offense looked, it looked stoppable, which is I've seen enough red flags, because I think the major problem is still the guy running the operation, Mr. Cliff Kingsbury. I think he'll hold him back in the end. And I still think that I've seen enough, even though I'm going to move on to the next coach too as well. But Arizona got stopped with their defense with Isaiah Simmons. He had to stop on Trey Lance on the goal line to force the game-ending tackle or turnover. And Budda Baker's been good. Byron Murphy's having one of those Trayvon Diggs type of breakout seasons as well. He's been around the ball a lot. And so they've got a good scheme. They got a really good second level of their defense with really fast linebackers, which makes any defense look even more better, because I don't know how good their other secondary guys are yet. The pass rush is elite, which makes every secondary look better. And we saw with Arizona, at least they have a backup plan. When the offense does stall out, that's what you go and get DeAndre Hopkins for. Throw him the ball, let him take you home. But Cliff Kingsbury, he's on the watch list, because I just don't know how long they'll be sustained once they get caught up. And we saw Kyler got nicked up a little in this game, so that that usually starts their downtrend for each season. Like the Raiders, they have a trend of starting fast, finishing slow. But I'm going to put Kyle Shanahan under the microscope here, because he is, I think, 9-26 or like 8-20-something without Jimmy G as his starting quarterback. And if he's supposed to be this offensive guru, this great head coach, he should be better without just Jimmy Garoppolo. Now we'll give him the caveat that before Trey Lance, they had some scrubs playing backup quarterback for him. But I mean, they should find a way to win more games like this. Well, they just don't tend to.
We know one thing we know about the Niners is the injuries are bad, as usual. They've already lost a myriad of running backs. George Kittle, he's going on IR. They were struggling to use him already, and now they don't even have him available. He was by far their best offensive weapon. Now Debo has stepped up. Hopefully they can find a way to get Brandon Ayuk involved.
No, they hate him now, so it's over.
For whatever reason, they just threw away a first-round pick. It looks like for a guy who showed talent,
like Denzel Mims in the Jets. It's like now coaching staff don't like him.
Coaching staff don't like him. So
and it's the same guys who drafted him.
That's what I was going to make that point about the Jets, but no,
Jets don't like him no more.
It's not my breakout player of the year.
So it's just a struggle for the Niners right now, because Trey Lance is just now starting at quarterback. He's never done this before at the NFL level. So, and he doesn't have a team full of like high profile, strong veteran presence.
Good offensive line.
Good offensive line, but like nothing in the running back position. Elijah Mitchell's the top guy.
I don't even know where he came from.
George Kittle, who was a key to their run game, he's hurt. They don't have any.
Their number one offensive weapon outside of Deebo Samuel is the guy who was putting in lots of work on Sunday. But you know what type of game you're getting when Kyle Juszczyk is putting in lots of work. But that's Kyle Juszczyk, the best fullback I've ever seen in my life, probably.
And the point of the Shanahan stretch zone out is to kill you with the play action bombs down the field. But they have no vertical presence down the field to be able to make explosive plays. They have to run and slog and drive down the field.
And that's why guys get hurt, because you're just crashing and banging, play in, play out, play in, play out, play in, play out, play in, play out. No explosiveness.
You're asking your defense to carry too heavy of a load, especially with the injuries they're dealing with. And so San Francisco, they're going to have to find a way to get healthy and see if they can turn around later in the year.
Anything else to say about this, Eric?
No, let's just keep it moving.
It's time to move on to my pain, so we can talk about the best game of the day.
Yeah, I was going there. Let's move down to Big D. Dallas beats the New York Giants 44-20.
You ain't been saying the score for anybody else, but all we gotta say about this game is there was a semi-competitive, ugly NFC East football game going on. And then Saquon Barkley tripped up on somebody and he twisted an ankle. And then Jason Garrett called a desperate third down play to call the correct fourth down play to play after. And then the quarterback decides to get Superman complex and he gets smashed upside his head. And he's done for the day. And so by the time we get to the mid-third quarter after Kenny Golladay taps out at halftime, we've got the New York Giants JV team versus the Dallas Cowboys, who are humming right now offensively. I thought defensively we slowed them down enough in the first half, but the Giants didn't take advantage of 2 turnovers. They decided to get 0 points off of 2 turnovers, including a bad missed field goal, because that's the borderline storyline, underlying storyline of the day: missed field goals, bad kicking. And so that turns it up. But even worse, the worst player of the day, award from me, Mr. Tay Crowder, helping Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard pave the way for 200 yards by showing up late to every single run fill, every single run stuff. But I'm going to let Moody take it away from here and take his victory lap, I guess.
I gave y'all the stat last week. When Dak Prescott starts at home, it's 40 points a game. The Cowboys got 44 here today, and that's the story of this team. The offense is just on another level right now. They were sloppy to start the game. Dak had Lorenzo Carter made a fantastic tip drill interception on 4th down to get the Giants an extra possession. Dalton Schultz dropped a touchdown in the end zone. Dak fumbled a snap. The Cowboys had a lot. The Cowboys.
It was NFC East football.
The Cowboys spent.
We were throwing up on ourselves too at the same time.
The Cowboys spent the better part of the first half playing down the competition. When they finally decided to settle down in the second half, because you talk about the JV team, those defenders were out there. And I remember
Blake Martinez and
I remember somebody in the Giants secondary claiming that we were just a dink and dunk offense with no explosive plays in the back end. So James Bradbury had to find out that we had explosive plays in the back end. The Cowboys took care of business against a division opponent because that's what Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys do. They won another home game handedly. There's not much to say.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else, sir?
James Bradbury dropped the game-turning interception in this game. He has not had a good season.
Oh, yeah, and the DPOY train continues for Mr. Trayvon Diggs. He got another one.
Oh, Mike Lennon. Yeah, I didn't want to say his name, but yeah, Mike Lennon came in for Daniel Jones, and Mike Lennon is still terrible. Has a really long neck too. I heard that's a running gag on him.
Him and Davis Mills. But no, I mean the Cowboys keep it going. They're keeping their hot streak going. Zeke rushes for another 100. Tony Pollard with his 75. I mean this offense is dangerous if they're capable of doing both. So
200 yards, 4 straight games. Like that's how much this offense is humming right now.
Yeah, and Dak with over 300 again. 3 tutties. So at least comeback player of the year and in MVP talks.
Luckily for him, Saquon Barkley's out and Joe Burrow's having a spotty season. So
he was always destined for this.
Nick Bosa's having an amazing DPOY type of season, but his team's bad. So we don't even talk about Nick Bosa coming back and just being amazing off an ACL still.
All right,
but moving on, let's leave Dallas.
Yeah, let's wrap up the 4:00 games where the Los Angeles Chargers beat the Cleveland Browns 47-42.
I really have no idea how LSU got out of here. It just seemed like the whole game, Cleveland's just stiff arming them, running the ball down their throat, in control of the football game. But Baker Mayfield's not Justin Herbert. That's the reason I picked the Chargers for that one reason. The Cleveland Browns are definitely a more talented football team, I think, on both sides of the ball. But they don't have Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert is good enough to beat the Browns because he's better than Baker Mayfield, and that's how the game ended up. The Browns defense is very, very inconsistent. It has shown against teams like the Vikings and the Texans. Not the Texans, the Vikings and the whoever else they played in the middle of the season. They can slow you down. They give up very little points. The Bears, they gave up very little points against those guys, but when they played the Texans, the Chiefs, and now the Chargers, their defense gives up a lot. If you can block Myles Garrett, there are plays to be made in that secondary. Because outside of Denzel Ward, they really don't have anybody else that you really trust. And they don't really have another pass rusher who can really take advantage of the tension that Myles Garrett receives. Their linebackers are just all right. JOK looks really, really good, but outside of him, they don't really have anything else to get anybody else to make consistent plays on that defense. And so yeah, their defense is going to struggle, and it struggled to get in this game. Justin Herbert, 5 total touchdowns, no picks. Just you have to get more stops than that if Cleveland expects to be a championship team. For Cleveland, their offense is a good matchup. They have a great matchup with the Chargers because the Chargers can't stop the run, and they play too high. And we know what Cleveland is running the football. They're the best running football team in the league. Nick Chubb showed why he is one of the 2 or 3 best backs in the league with his 170 yards and long explosive a touchdown. Kareem Hunt punched it in twice. He was a menace in the passing game as well. David Njoku made a gigantic play, 70-yard touchdown. This was by far the best game of the weekend and the best game of the year. But unfortunately, Cleveland has a quarterback problem that's going to hold them back from being in that upper tier of the AFC, like Justin Herbert and the Chargers are.
Yeah, like we've seen last year against the Ravens, we saw him get outdueled by Lamar. This year, week 1, we saw him get outdueled by Patrick Mahomes, and then we see him get outdueled again by Justin Herbert. They're dropping 40 points, and they're still getting matched easily, which means their defense isn't that great. But when you get into those shootouts, Baker Mayfield's a BB gun. Justin Herbert's an assault rifle. Patrick Mahomes an assault rifle. Lamar Jackson's an assault rifle. So, I mean, other than that, Cleveland, they're going to be my AFC predictions are looking really strong right now. I think I'm looking I think Cleveland will win the AFC North just because they're a bit more healthier than Baltimore. And I think Baltimore's really, really bad this year. But as for the Chargers, nobody might have a better under 26 core of players than the Chargers. They have Herbert, they have Slater at tackle, who might be playing the best left tackle in the league today. They have Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr. All guys who have all looked elite, like top 5 at their position elite this year, which is props to their scouting because they fell into all those guys. So clearly, other teams are not scouting as good as them because a lot of those guys should have been top 10 talents.
I mean, Herbert was 6.
And Herbert was the only one that went and not Asante Samuel. He was a 2nd-round guy, but he could have been a 1st-round guy. But he had another guy that fell. Slater fell. Derwin James fell. Bosa fell. Yeah. So they've lucked into a lot of them, but I mean, that's what good scouting is for. Take good players when they fall to you. Pretty much this is a win that puts them in the upper echelon fighting with Buffalo for best team in the AFC. It's going to be a great race to see who wins that because home field is going to be pretty key with teams like Kansas City and Baltimore sneaking into the wild card this year probably. All right, anything else?
I mean, OBJ is just being abysmal, I think.
No, Baker Mayfield.
They don't fit because OBJ was a guy, even at his peak, he was a guy that you had to force feed the ball. He was never somebody who was just with 4 or 5 targets was going to be this huge playmaker. He was a guy who, when he gets his 9, 10,
but you see, 11, he's open.
I mean, it's just they don't fit. Like sometimes they do like Dak Prescott and Dez. They see this fun. I don't mind it. They don't fit as players. Oh, and then Odell Beckham Jr. He's just not the same guy because when Odell at his peak, he forced you to feed him the ball, and he was a force multiplier.
I will say
he's just not the force multiplier that he once was. Top of with the fact that Baker Mayfield's not going to force him the ball, and he's on the offense that's running the ball half the time. It's just the opportunities just aren't as there as much as they used to be. Teams are going to be able to roll without Jarvis Landry. Teams are more likely to roll some more coverage over to Odell Beckham Jr.'s way as well, and you still have to worry about the run game. It's just it's not a good situation for those two. I don't think it's going to click for those two guys.
Like I told Modi earlier this week, hopefully I would love to see him get traded to be the Packers' number 2 receiver. I think with Devontae Adams and Odell Beckham Jr., that would be explosive and give the Packers that secondary receiver that they've been looking for this whole time. But anything else to say about this game before we move on to the Sunday night game, Eric?
No. I mean, I think Baker's definitely injured and definitely holding something. But
he played a good game. Yeah. He played a cute little kid game. Justin Herbert played an elite game.
Yeah, Justin Herbert played an MVP type game. Yeah. So let's move on to the game of the week, which was Buffalo at Kansas City. Buffalo wins this one 38-20.
If you've been paying attention, this was destiny. Like, this was truly destiny at this point. We knew Buffalo's defense is legit. They match up really, really well with what Kansas City wants to do, and Kansas City has not learned their lesson about their arrogant way of playing the NFL football. Like, Mahomes was getting away with so much in his first couple years in the league. He could do whatever he wanted, so whatever defense he wanted, nobody could stop him. Nobody would ever make a play. They never paid for anything. That is completely flipped on its head now. They are paying if they drop a ball, it's going the other way. Mahomes misses high, misses far, it's going the other way. Their running backs putting the ball on the ground, and their defense can't get any stops. And when these combination of things happens, it don't matter how talented your team is, it don't matter how good your quarterback is playing. You're going to struggle to win football games, especially against playoff teams, if your defense can't get any stops and your offense can't take care of the football. What Mahomes is going through right now is what Dak Prescott went through in 2020. That's what the Chiefs are. They're the 2020 Cowboys. They sit here, they score a bunch of points, but it doesn't matter because their offense has to play absolutely perfectly. And if it doesn't, the defense will give up too many stops for them to win the game. And it happened again here. Buffalo had a good game plan to slow them down. They feel like they have to score every single play to even keep up. That's going to force turnovers, and their defense isn't good enough to keep them in any games.
That's basically it. Their offense is pressing because their defense can't get. Their defense is the worst defense we've probably seen every year. Another worst. So they're this year's version of the worst defense of all time.
They're giving them a touchdown on 40% of their drives. 40% of the time they give up a touchdown.
But I mean, I'm not surprised because I told y'all this year I didn't think Kansas City would be that good. Because I still think
Chris Jones is also hurt, which is hurt.
Because I still think as bad as Patrick Mahomes is, he's still playing at a top 5 quarterback level, which is like he slipped from being out of this world to this top 5, and that's how bad their defense. The problem, they had to rebuild their offensive line because I do believe in the report that there's a report that Patrick Mahomes is going to have a toe surgery after this season. I do think he's been limping around, but I think their offense is pressing. I think they just have to. It's a gap year. When you go into the year, 3 straight years of they should have been in the Super Bowl for 3 straight years because D Ford was one hand offsides from going to 3 straight Super Bowls, and then the last one ended with their offensive line just blowing up. They have to protect their quarterback. I'm not mad that they put all their resources towards protecting Patrick, especially if this injury that he came to the season with is more serious now that he's been playing because these guys think that they can play through injuries at any rate. So, I mean, they'll be good. They'll be fine. They're 2-3. They'll finish in the wild card like those years we saw with the Colts or the Patriots, where it is, or not much with the Patriots because they usually win the AFCs, but like the years we saw with the Colts where the Titans have a freaky 13-3 season with Kerry Collins and they just weren't elite that year and just fall into the wild card, get knocked out because that defense can't stop. If there's a good offense, then they won't probably beat any team with a top 10 offense.
They gotta hope they see Tennessee or something. Like that's who. If they're
hopefully if Tennessee's healthy, I don't see them winning more than one playoff game this year. It's up.
And I'm not gonna put in that.
I still believe in Patrick.
Mahomes is still good enough that they can fall into an AFC title game because he beat you a couple times.
Maybe, but this year they're not getting no bye, and there's one less bye from the last time when they had a bye. So this year they're probably going to play 2 tough teams to start, and I just don't see this defense. Let's say if they have to play the Chargers in LA.
It's so crazy because the defense wasn't bad last year.
It was.
It wasn't like they were good enough. They weren't winning. They didn't have to win. They didn't have to win every game 40-35 like they have to do this year. Now we know Chris Jones is hurt. They're starting outside corner. Javarius Ward is hurt. Tyrann Mathieu still working his way back.
1 year older. He looks like
he's taking a step. He's taking a step back. That's for sure.
There's just nothing. There's nothing on it. It's Chris Jones, Tyrann Mathieu, and a bunch of replacement level players on their defense. You can't win with that. The NFL's too good.
And especially if you're going to continue to turn the ball over the way they have on offense.
As for Josh Allen and the Bills, they're clearly, in my opinion, the best team in the AFC, the best team in the NFL, number 1 scoring defense, number 1 scoring offense, and that includes the clunker that they had in the second half against Pittsburgh at home in Week 1.
I'm surprised they put them over the Chargers.
I think they have experience. They're more talented.
They're more talented.
Yeah, their defense is better. Their defense is definitely better than the Chargers because the Chargers can get run on. But I also believe they have playoff experience, so they won't be looking for playoff experience. They're 2 years battle tested. They look like what the Chiefs were 2 years ago. They're peaking into it's our time now. So we'll see how that goes for them because I still think Buffalo's coordinators are good. I think their head coach is a little hit or miss in the playoffs. So that's my question with them. and they don't run the football. So
that's why I don't 100% trust Buffalo yet. It's just because
but they do run the football.
They can run the football, but they don't run like I think when teams know they have to run the football, can they run the football and close out a team? That's what I'm interested to see. The great win over the Chiefs, although I think the Chiefs are they call them at the right time. They are reeling right now, dealing with a bunch of injuries on their defense. And now Travis Kelce has a stinger. Tyreek Hill's dealing with a minor knee injury. So I think teams are going to get their licks in on Kansas City right now. So I think their defense probably looked a little bit better than it actually is, but it still has looked. It still has looked good.
Tyreek Hill probably helped them a lot.
But that pick six and everything like that. So like Buffalo's a team that right now they definitely like the class of the AFC, but I just don't quite trust them yet to get to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, like I still think I don't know how good their defense is against a fully healthy offense and a defense that could give them some resistance. But I will give the X factor to them as being how healthy and how productive they can keep Emmanuel Sanders, because he is a veteran receiver that's been there, done that, been to 3 Super Bowls on 3 different teams and won one, and has been hurt a lot. So, and is looking good right now. Mm-hmm. So, with Cole Beasley as your third, fourth option, we see Dawson Knox taking a step up. Buffalo just look like they're peaking right now. They've got good chemistry going. So hopefully they haven't peaked too early, because they've dominated a few teams in a row now. But moving on to anything else to say, Eric?
I mean, if the Bills keep a decent run game, they're gonna be the best offense in the league. Like Moss was averaging like 3.5 against the Chiefs, and Singletary was 4. So and then Allen's runs were 5.
That's why they're not the best. That's why they're not the best offense in the league right now.
They're the most scoring offense.
That doesn't make them the best offense in the league. They just racked up on Washington and Houston
and Kansas City. And now Kansas City.
So the worst defense, so they racked up on like the bottom 3 defenses in the league.
Rack them up. Also,
the one good defense they played, they scored 10 points. That's all I'm gonna say.
Kansas City, they're in trouble. What was the last thing I want to say about?
That keeps my Sunday night streak going though. Of hitting that primetime game perfect, and I'm gonna hit on this last one too.
As for Buffalo, gotta stay healthy. I forgot what the last thing I was about to say, but we can move on.
We can move on to Monday night.
Yeah, so on the Monday night, we go to Baltimore, where they pull out the win 31-25 in OT against the Colts.
This is yet another game where I just don't know how Baltimore got out of here.
What's the we do. The underlying theme of the week, rare ugly head one last time. Terrible place kicking, and trust in these place kickers.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger one. It's way too. If you don't got Justin Tucker as your kicker, you don't need to be trusting your kicker like this.
Especially when he's hurt and he's already missed a couple games.
But the Colts were out 25-9 in complete control of the football game, and they gave up 3 straight 70-plus yard touchdown drives to Lamar Jackson, primarily with his arm. That's pretty unacceptable. Their offense, while it moved the ball up and down the field on Baltimore through the first 3.5 quarters, suddenly couldn't do anything the rest of the game. Baltimore's defense finally stepped up and got some stops. They slowed down Jonathan Taylor after he had a hot start. But overall, this was my lock of the week, so I'm going to take credit for getting this W in. Baltimore found a way.
But it was wrong. The Colts covered.
I didn't get the cover, but I picked them to win the game. But tough. Baltimore gutted this one out. Lamar Jackson with an MVP performance, the most efficient high passing yard game in NFL history. Like for a guy who people don't consider very accurate, and I still didn't think he was super duper accurate in this game. For him to manage to put up numbers like that is ridiculous with the threat he makes with his legs as well. Lamar's got a cape on, and he's carrying these guys. They're 4-1 with 16 guys on IR. Lamar deserves to be right in the thick of the MVP discussion with the rest of the guys. And just Baltimore, we know what they do. They're always going to be able to overcome adversity and fight through it, and they're doing it again now.
Yeah, first off, for Baltimore, they're a good organization, so they pull these out. I'm gonna shun the Colts instead, because Frank Reich decided he allowed Baltimore to have the Dak Prescott game against Atlanta, turn some garbage time into a dub, because the Colts actually had the ball in between those long possessions. They had 2 possessions inside of the 30, and they lined up for 2 bad field goals that I told Moody at the time they had 0 chance of making any of them, because they were settling for field goals with a hurt kicker. And Calais Campbell blocks the first one, and then the kicker tries to avoid Calais Campbell from blocking the second one, so he shanks the second one. And once it went to overtime and they didn't get the ball first, they lost. So Frank Reich, he gets to be the donkey of the week because he wants to just settle for field goals with a hurt place kicker. And now he has to choke away a lead.
Great game from Carson Wentz.
He has the Colts dominated this game all day long until the fourth quarter when Lamar's offense was on the field chewing up garbage time that turned into David Andrews. Yeah.
The Colts had the heart.
Also Lamar Jackson was on my fantasy bench this week, so he can thank me and all the other people that I left on the bench this week. Kyle Pitts too. That was the last guy. They can all thank me for having their first breakout week of the year because I decided to put him on the bench and it's in place of Cole Beasley, Daniel Jones, and Kenny Galladay.
The Colts had the hardest strength of schedule in the league. You started Kenny Galladay against the best corner in the league is on you. Shouldn't have been doing that. But the Colts.
The bigger problem is he didn't even finish the game. So yeah.
The Colts had the hardest schedule in the league to start, and they just blew a big one. Like they were in complete when they look back in the playoff in the end, they're wondering why they're 8th.
But like I said, I still
7th.
think they're gonna. I took away the Colts are gonna be good because I think that we all predicted that they were gonna.
But
start
we know the AFC will be a bloodbath. Though
luckily for them, their bloodbath consists of 2 more games against Houston. 2 more games against Jacksonville.
But if you can, I don't think the Colts are going to be good enough where if they don't win their division, can they get to the playoffs still?
Peep the schedule.
We know the schedule is rough.
They can easily
falling into a win like this would have been very, very helpful.
Yeah, it would have.
To get them now. They don't have you don't even think Baltimore's going to win the division. They just lost this tiebreaker right here in the wild card race.
Wild card game too.
It's an extra wild card game still, but it's going to be. They were the 7th seed last year. They made it harder on themselves by blowing this game. This is a rough one right here.
I still foresee them winning 7 games in a row at some point when they play all those Jacksonville, padded up by Jacksonville and Houston.
But now they have to.
No, they have to.
They've given themselves no cushion.
They've done it before. That's why this is what they do. This is the Colts now. They've been Andrew Luck broke them. And this is what they are now. They barely make the playoffs because they start slow and then they roll them because their division's bad. And then one and done. Maybe they get lucky and win one. But that's what happens when you give up Peyton Manning for Andrew Luck. Eric, anything else to say about this last game of the week?
Yeah, living in a household with a woman who's a Colts fan. She came up to me after the 3rd quarter and said, "We have this in the bag, right?"
Ooh.
And I was like,
they shouldn't.
I was like, the Ravens have to play perfect. The Ravens have to play
and they did it.
And they did.
The Colts decided to play the Colts decided just to give it to them. Just to give it to them.
So it was a rough one. But it was a good game. I liked it.
It was a good game. I enjoyed it. I mean, Lamar was amazing to watch. Carson Wentz and Jonathan Taylor.
I wish these Monday night games would just allow me to go to bed, but they just don't want to. They always got to get competitive.
That's Moody was about to go to bed. I told him, hold up, this ain't over yet. This is Monday Night Football. And the Colts gave y'all something. The Colts played their role. They were supposed to keep everybody up for the night. But anything else to say about this game, Eric? Before we go to our best segment of the week, the MVP rankings?
No, let's move on.
All right, let's get it.
All right, I'll go ahead and go first because I'm not going to have any changes from my MVP rankings last week. I had Kyler Murray at 1, Dak Prescott at 2, and Justin Herbert at 3. I see no reason to change it this week with all 3 quarterbacks showing up, showing out, getting the W in their performances. Kyler Murray continues to be undefeated. Dak Prescott continues to have a great run of their 4-1, and he doesn't have a bad game yet this season. The same with Justin Herbert. Those guys get to be the same 3, and we'll see how it moves on.
Well, this week impacted me a lot. I can start foreseeing where things are going. So actually, I have to unfortunately move my guy, Matthew Stafford, for the first time this season. He's getting bumped down, and I'm going to have Kyler Murray at 3. I think for sure in the next few weeks we'll see Kyler Murray falling all the way out. But I'm going to move Josh Allen up to 2. And if I were to re-predict a third way through the season, I'd make Josh Allen the MVP front runner. I think he'll easily win it. And at 1 right now, though, I'm going to go with Justin Herbert because I think he's been playing the best football these last few weeks by everybody, by far, by everybody standards. Actually, he's been just carrying the Chargers offense. So yeah,
I don't know if he's been carried. They got some really good talent.
They got a decent run game. Mike Williams keeps getting open.
I don't know if it's just a carry job that he's doing.
So yeah,
he's got a few top 100 players on his team. That's all I'm saying. He got a couple of top 100 guys in his skill position.
I'm gonna go Herbert 1, Josh Allen 2. He'd be my new leader in the racehorse in the clubhouse to get the award because they have a pretty easy schedule too. And then I got Kyler Murray, but I predict he'll be gone sooner or later.
I don't know how y'all removed this guy from
Because he had a terrible game against
he's got a couple of clunkers. And mine is cumulative. You have to have been good for all 5 weeks to still
not just against the garbage time against the
all 5
Dolphins.
So I'm going Justin Herbert. I mean, I think he's had the best collection of all of his weeks together.
He's been the most spectacular. He's been the best by far. I don't even think it's been quarterback play has been close.
It's been there's been a lot.
It's been a lot of, and that's the crazy thing.
And he has a loss.
But he's played damn near perfect except for that.
He has a loss that he threw away.
Number 2, I am going TB12. I don't know what y'all. I mean, he's the oldest man to throw for 405.
He's gonna be the oldest man to do everything, Eric. It's Tom Brady. He's gonna be the oldest.
Good on for him.
He's the oldest man to start every time he does anything. He's the oldest man to do it.
Played the worst game of his career against Bill Belichick this season, and then fatten up against the Dolphins and the Eagles to come. So good on for Tom Brady.
He's fourth for me, Eric. But yeah,
Tom Brady's actually also he's my 5th. He's behind Matthew Stafford because Stafford.
Yeah, and then I'll put Kyler at 3 because he's still undefeated. He'll stay on my top 3 if he stays.
He's using team success to carry him into the thing because he's had a few clunkers, but but his team is good. So that's the good thing about it, though. It's a team award that they give to one player. But it hurt me to move Matthew Stafford out. He's gonna need to start picking it up. Hopefully, start racking up some of these NFC West games to get him back in the race. But I think the AFC has the MVP award locked up because I'm pretty sure looking at the Bills schedule or looking the way Justin Herbert's been playing, those two guys are just gonna be duking it out, and they don't play each other, so no tiebreaker for that. But I think that's all for this week. And since we're here, we'll just go ahead and we've talked about it, and we all got the same pick for sure. This week for Thursday Night Football, we have
Bucks by a million.
Yeah.
Bucks cover, and I'll take the over.
You don't even know.
I don't need to see it for me to say it. Unless it's like 56.5.
53.
Yeah. Bucks in the over.
Bucks in the over.
Philly will garbage time it up in the second half because the Bucks defense still isn't great with the injuries. Devontae Davis out for a few weeks, but Thomas, Edward, Patrick, Brady is going to throw the ball all over those guys.
Bucks by a lot and the over. Yeah, same. Eric.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, we don't even.
Now it's just so wonderful that as a fan of the NFC East, that I get to watch the NFC East teams play the Bucks, the Chiefs, and the Rams this week. So good luck to the NFC East. The Cowboys going to do it, and we're going to continue to carry the good name of the NFC East division, and good luck to the rest of them.
They're still not going to no NFC Championship game, so we'll all win in the end. Anything else to say for today, Eric?
No, we'll probably have our standings of who's been the best of our picks in the predictions episode, so be ready for that.
Look out for that. All right, y'all.